Emperor Peter the Great funded expeditions to Alaska in 1725, and by the 1740s, Russian fur traders took an interest in the region, seeking out otter pelts. By the late 1700s, small outposts began to spring up on the Aleutian Islands and coastline. The claiming of Alaskan lands was primarily done by the Russian-American Company starting in 1799. This was a state-sponsored company responsible for establishing settlements, trading furs, and establishing relations with indigenous people. Russia would steadily claim land in Alaska until 1867, when it would sell the territory to the United States, believing the United States would help offset the dominance of Russia's naval rival in the Pacific, the British. Of course, it should be acknowledged that Russia was selling land that belonged to native Alaskans, who didn't much appreciate Russia's presence to begin with. Russia, for example, at the start of the 19th century battled with the Tlingit people, who lived along the Alaskan Panhandle. They had inhabited the area for some 11,000 years. Russia had a few bloody engagements with the Tlingit people, most notably the Battle of Sitka, which resulted in the Russians investing in forts in the area. This is Castle Hill at Sitka on Baranof Island. Despite investing in forts to protect the fur trade and the expansion of the Russian Empire, Russia would start looking to sell Alaska after it lost significant finances and men in the Crimean War, fought against Turkey, France, the Kingdom of Sardinia, and their rival Great Britain. Russia lost over 450,000 men and drained its treasury. Russia simply did not have the resources or manpower to continue to support expansion into North America. And though the fur trade could be quite lucrative, transporting furs from Alaska to Europe was often more expensive than it was worth. Russia felt selling Alaska to America would put America and Britain at odds with each other on the Pacific coast. Russia also knew if Britain invaded Alaska, they could not tactically hold it. Selling it to America was a way to cut their losses and put pressure on their rival Great Britain. Russia offered to sell Alaska to America in 1859. Russia believed America was a future friend. Americans starting in the 1830s were already providing technical assistance to Russia in the construction of railways, and there was a growing interest in selling firearms to Russia. America was interested in the purchase, but growing problems at home, notably the American Civil War, which lasted from 1861 to 1865, delayed the sale. After the war, Secretary of State William Seward, wanting to expand and strengthen the United States, took up Russia's offer. On March 30, 1867, Washington purchased Alaska for $7.2 million. The formal flag raising took place at Fort Sitka, October 18, 1867. After this date, Russia's future in North America was ended. Interestingly, life went on pretty much as normal for the few Russians that chose to stay in Alaska and the indigenous nations. In fact, most of Alaska's interior wasn't even mapped when it was first purchased. This would in part lead to boundary disputes with Canada that would not officially be resolved until 1903. The region was largely ignored for a few decades after purchase, and loosely governed under military, naval, and treasury rule. Civil administration began in 1877. There was initial criticism of the government for purchasing the land with little plans for it, and with America still recovering from the Civil War. However, gold deposits were discovered in the Canadian Yukon in 1896, and Alaska became the gateway to the Klondike goldfields. This immediately put Alaska on the map. Once gold was found in Alaska in 1899, in places like Nome, towns popped up everywhere in the region, and in 1903, the Alaska Railroad began to be built. In the 20th century, fishing became a lucrative trade in Alaska, and during World War II, Alaska became strategically significant in the war against Japan. Alaska officially became a state January 3rd, 1959. Alright, I'm Johnny, reminding all my Alaskan friends to stay warm. If you want to support the channel, give a like or subscribe, and we'll see you next time.